Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
Here, tell us about courage, Phil. Tell us about courage.
I am Nadella.
I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing.
Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landen.
Hello.
And Caleb.
Yo.
And we are here to talk all things tech this week, guys. Hey,
Yeah.
we have things to talk about, not just trying to avoid the Activision Blizzard stuff.
Oh, gosh, no. I haven't thought about Activision Blizzard all week.
There's a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we got a lot. So we're going to get into this. But first, we do want to talk about something. It's about security, and it's important. So we're going to get into this first. We're going to get into this first, and then we're going to get into a lot of the CES stuff that's been happening this week and things that have been announced, messed with, like that. So, but to get into this, I'm going to hand the reins over to Landen. He wants to talk about LastPass.
Yes. So, listener, you may have been someone like myself and Wes. I don't know about Caleb, but we've been using LastPass for a while. And I've been recommending LastPass for a while because they've been really good for quite some time. But this past year or so, it's gone downhill quite a bit. Not necessarily in features, but in security, which is kind of the whole point of LastPass, which is a password manager, in case you aren't aware. So what LastPass is, if you don't know what a password manager is, it's something that you have your own master password in, and then LastPass can generate passwords for you for websites that are really secure, randomized, good passwords, and then they're saved in your vault that you have access to with your master password and whatnot, and you can easily copy and paste passwords from this vault to the website that you're going to. Or if you have a plugin or the app on your phone, it just adds them automatically, which is really handy and really nice. But this past August, this was the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back on LastPass, that, it's kind of not going to be what you should use anymore, because there was a hack into LastPass that, after a while of digging, people finally got LastPass, like the people that work there, to admit everything. It took a while for them to actually admit what happened. But basically, the hackers were able to access all customer vaults, which is kind of a big deal, because that's like all your passwords, other than your master password, which, to be fair, technically they still do have to have your master password to use, like, to access, or like to be able to access all the passwords and stuff. To like, I guess what it has to do is unencrypt these passwords, basically, as long as you've been using LastPass correctly as well. Because that's the other thing. They've slowly over the years updated things to make them more secure, but the problem is they didn't do that to everyone. They just kind of implemented it, and then if you were new from that point on, they got all the security features. So unless you went in yourself, like if me or Wes, where we've been using it for so long, unless we went in and actually changed certain things, we're not as secure as we could be as if we had signed up 2 years ago or whatever. Right. So that is also an issue. But like I said, some hackers were able to break into LastPass and get all the vaults from customers, and they didn't say some customers or a percentage of customers. They just said customers. They didn't say all, but because they didn't say some, it pretty much means all customers. So what I would do, listener, if you are using LastPass, first things first, go and change your master password to something even stronger than it potentially already is, and just something different, because again, yes, they still need that, and it would probably take a while to break into that, but just do that first. And then what I would also recommend is to start looking into something else to use as a password manager. That's what I'm doing. I'm actually looking into what's called Bitwarden. It's an open source password manager. They have a free option, which is nice, and the features on the free option are really good. I think I can't remember what all the different paid options are and what they cost, but they have different paid options. There's also One Password is what it's called, I think, right?
Yeah.
That's a good one I've heard recommended by a lot of people. I'm leaning towards Bitwarden partially because, and I'm going to recommend this as well. Listen to the podcast called Security Now. It's from the Twit Network. They have their most recent episode is dedicated specifically to this stuff that's going on with LastPass. I listened to it this past week, and the guy that's on there, he recommended Bitwarden. He has switched over to Bitwarden. And another thing that he also recommended doing is not like you can download all of your data from LastPass and just import that straight into a different password manager. And that's not a bad idea, but you're still using the same passwords that you were before, which are potentially going to be broken into and whatnot. So what he recommended is to start a new password manager, and as you go to these websites, basically start fresh. Make a new say you forgot your password, make a new one with this new password manager, and then you're good to go. I mean, yes, it's going to be kind of a pain for a while, but I mean, it's just like as if you had, like when you started using LastPass the first time, it's just re-adding all these passwords in the way you did before. So yes, it's kind of annoying, but LastPass didn't do what they were supposed to and made this kind of annoying for everyone. So So if you're using LastPass, I would recommend probably switching to something else. If you're the type of person that has tried to get family or, whatnot onto a password manager and you told them to use LastPass, I know getting them to switch might not be something that's easily doable or at all doable, but I'd try, and if not, at least get them to change their master password to something better. Worst case, I mean, that's better than nothing, and also to go in and change whatever passwords they do have, because, again, if they do that, sticking with LastPass is not the worst option, but it's just not the best option anymore. So, but again, I would also recommend going and listening to that episode of Security Now. I will link that in the show notes for you if you want to listen to that, just in case. He goes over in detail everything that happened and different recommendations and a lot of different stuff on there. So it's a good episode if you happen to be someone that has been using LastPass for any length of time. So there you go. There's your PSA for this. I'm just, with something like this, makes me even more ready for passkeys that Apple and Google are both working on, because you don't need passwords for that. So you don't have passwords that can get stolen. You use your fingerprint, your face, a really good PIN code, something along those lines, and that's your password-ish for whatever. So I'm looking forward to those days.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks. It really does. Like you said, if you're looking for something to maybe export everything, it does show that it's pretty easy to export all your stuff if you want to. If you change everything in LastPass and then export it to your new location. I know they have always been saying newer services that do that, you can export and move everything pretty easily.
Yeah.
It has your info. So sucks because I've been going back and forth trying to see what's good, because I just paid for my yearly of LastPass right before they announced this, so that was fun.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure when my thing comes up for LastPass, like when my yearly payment comes up. But yeah, it's like, I still have it. I paid for it, but I'd rather be, more secure and have something that's not going to, fail me down the road.
Right.
Especially if you have like bank account password, like bank passwords and stuff like that on here, kind of a big deal. It's one thing if it's just like, Facebook or something stupid like that. But if you're using it for everything, then there's some things in there you want to change your password to for sure. Okay, but that's the LastPass saga for now. So there you go, listener. Now on to some happier, more fun stuff to talk about. CES 2023. Oh, the joys of CES. It's always so much fun. And of course, the main thing that we love to talk about with CES is all of the weird stuff.
Oh, yes.
Ever since a lot of these major companies don't show phones off at CES anymore, this is really the point of CES, is the weird concepts. I mean, even before it was as well, but it's even more so now.
Yeah. Well, in the past couple of years with like a fully digital, like fully virtual CES, we haven't gotten nearly as much weird crap as we normally do. But this year, it's back in person in Vegas, and it's back in full swing with all the weird garbage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to start us off because I know Caleb's got a lot of stuff, and he's going to take most of the things that I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to start and take those from him instead.
There you go.
And I do have some, somewhat normal things from CES to talk about as well. Something that you might actually be able to purchase one day, that you might want to purchase one day. So, but the first thing, let's start with the weird things. BMW. So last year, they showed off a color-changing car that could change from black to white, or white to black, and then anywhere in between, little gray and whatnot. This year, they showed off what they are calling the iVision D, like DEE, because apparently D is their virtual assistant, is what I got.
Kind of.
Yeah, ish. So that, I mean, I didn't read too much into that, nor did I really want to, so we're not
It's supposed to be the car's personality.
Yeah, so that's fun. But the car itself is a color-changing car, but it can have 32 different colors in all sorts of different patterns via 240 e-ink displays that are on the exterior of the car. Now, you can't really tell. It's not like they just put a whole bunch of Kindle, e-ink displays on the tablets on the car. No, it's actually it looks like a car for the most part, but it is all sorts of fun, different colors, and it's everything you can think of. It's quite fun to watch. You need to find a video of this because pictures are not going to do it justice. So that's neat. You're not going to buy that, but it's there.
My favorite thing about this thing is that the windshield is a display. So instead of looking through a pane of glass, you can just look at a picture of what's on the other side of the pane of glass. And then the driver's side windows are like that like photoelectric dimmable stuff, so they can actually block out the windows.
Yeah.
But then all of the windows also have display technology on the outside of them. So they can project a rudimentary avatar of you inside the car onto the windows on the outside of the car so that you can interact with people outside of the car without interacting with them. It's the most baffling concept that I have ever seen in the automotive world. And if you pay attention to automotive concepts, that's saying something. Yeah. But yeah, this thing is weird.
I mean, I've been to the SEMA show before, and if you want weird automotive concepts, that's where you go. But I hadn't seen anything quite like this before.
Nope.
And I
It's
think
weird.
I think they did it incorrectly. I mean, obviously they're going to show it off on a car, but if this is technology that BMW eventually wants to use and sell, what they should have done is put it on a bus and shown advertisements, because that's where this is actually going to make them money. BMW is going to start an advertisements company where they can sell, put a bunch of e-ink displays on a bus or a semi-truck or anything like that. And it's super battery friendly because it's e-ink. It's not using a ton of power. And
Just
with
mobile
all the different
billboards.
colors, it's just a moving billboard. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
That's what they should have done, especially in Vegas. They have moving billboards all over the place down there. They have cars with like poster size or bigger than poster size billboards on top of them. You know, put this technology on that.
Honestly, listener, if you have never driven into or out of Las Vegas on I-15 that runs right through there, it is baffling the sheer amount of advertisements that are along the freeway coming into and leaving town.
Yeah.
To the extent where I feel pretty confident in saying that if you ripped up all of the pavement on I-15 through that whole stretch, you could just take the billboards down and put them down instead and drive. You'd have about the same amount of material.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's true.
So Vegas is the perfect place for that feature.
Yes. All right. Moving on. Now, my personal favorite item that was announced at CES was the Withings U-Scan, is what it's called. And what this is it a smart device that goes in your toilet to give you urinalysis information. It's the most kosher way I can say it.
It scans your pee.
It scans your pee.
Oh,
It's
I didn't
great.
see this one.
The way that this thing works is it works like those cleaning tablets that you put on the side of your toilet. It hooks on. There's that little cartridge or that little holder thing. You buy these little tablets. They're replaceable cartridges that you can get. There's two different versions. There's one that's more suitable for females and one more suitable for everyone else, like just everyone in general. So the female one, I think you're going to know exactly what that's for. And then the other one is like they call it the U-Scan NutriBalance. Basically, it kind of tells you different nutritional information. But currently, this is only going to be coming to the EU in the fall for $500. So there's that. And then the replacement cartridges, I don't know how much each individual one costs, but you can get on a subscription plan for $30 a month to get that.
Yep.
So
they say it'll do like 5 scans. Each cartridge will do like 5 scans or something like that.
Oh, that's it? I didn't see that. Oh my gosh.
It wasn't a ton. But yeah, it basically like it uses temperature sensing to determine whether or not the liquid that is hitting the cartridge is going to be appropriate for analysis. When it detects the appropriate temperature, which is just slightly below body temperature for obvious reasons, it then opens up the cartridge, takes in a little bit of the urine that's there, and then runs a series of tests on it. Like they would do at a lab that your hospital or your doctor sends a urine sample to. And they're fairly simple, fairly basic tests. It tests them, runs the analysis, sends that data to your phone, and then in the app, it pulls up a nice rundown of everything that it can tell you about your lifestyle and your diet from your urine, and will then make recommendations and stuff like that as appropriate. I don't know. It's amazing. Let's be honest. This is why I pay attention to CES. Is this kind of thing?
Yes, exactly.
It's great.
All right. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is something that Caleb and Wes and I had a nice lengthy conversation about before we started recording, unfortunately. But wireless technology is coming to more things. And as Caleb put it before the podcast, things that don't need to be wireless, and I agree with him. Although I did bring up a really good
this all day.
I did bring up a really good case for why you need this to be wireless. So this company, they actually announced this a little bit before CES, and LG has come out with one, but it's a wireless TV. So the one that I'm talking about is Displace, is the company.
Mm-hmm.
They have a wireless TV. It's got like batteries in it that will run for up to 1 month, and they're also hot swappable, so you could be watching TV and switch out batteries one by one, and it'll be fine. Well, it'll still work. I wouldn't necessarily say it'll be fine, but it'll work.
Look, if you've bought this TV and intend to make this a part of your lifestyle, it's not fine. Things are not fine. You should probably go see a therapist.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to what I said before the podcast. So the reason why you buy this TV, that you can, It's wireless and it's battery powered, so you can pick it if you want. If you're watching on your couch and you want to move to a different room, what you do is you put some magnets or something on the back of the TV that you can mount it to different locations in your house. So you just take it off the wall, go into your kitchen, put it there. Or, okay, I don't want to be in the kitchen. I'll go into my bedroom, put it in there. Oh, I need a shower. Oh, go put it in the bathroom. There. Now you got a 55-inch TV everywhere you go. Look at that. How nice.
And once again, if this is the lifestyle that you have chosen, listener, then it's not fine.
It's for those that can't afford to have like 5 or 6 different 55-inch TVs. Although for the price, you can afford 5 or 6 different 55-inch TVs.
I was going to say, that's what it costs.
Because this TV from Displace is $3,000, and it's coming later this year. So there you go.
Yep. The one thing that I will say is that the LG version does not have batteries in it. It has a power cord. So it's not totally wireless, as they would have you believe.
And they did point that out. I think that's the one I saw. They're like, yes, not completely, but
not completely wireless. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and point out that if you buy one of these things, it is streaming all of the data from like a separate box that has all the inputs and everything on it to the screen wirelessly. And that is very potentially going to cause massive issues with the Wi-Fi devices or cellular devices in your house. Or they're going to cause massive issues with your TV. It just... This is like the dumbest thing to make wireless. Like, look, I understand the idea of wanting to not have a big old thick TV hanging on your wall. I get that. I'm all there for it. They have solved that problem. You take the box with all the inputs on it and everything like that, and then you just have a single easy to hide cable that connects to the screen. You hang the screen on the wall, you run the cable through the wall or hide it somehow to the box, which is elsewhere in the room. This is a problem we solved decades ago. Okay? Like, this has been a thing for a very, very long time. The Samsung wallpaper TV is the picture frame that LG makes the wallpaper, which is also a very good TV, but the picture frame is also a great version of this. We solved this problem. We solved it. LG, we didn't need you to screw with the wireless network in our house to solve it again, especially since, in LG's case, there's still a cord.
Yes.
Right? Like, you're still going to have to hide a cable to run to a power outlet. You may as well just run it to a separate box. It's just so dumb. Like, what is this is something that did not need to be wireless. Like, wireless phones, that made sense back in the day. Cell phones, it makes sense. Wireless computers, right? Wi-Fi. There's a lot of use cases for that kind of thing. There are some things that are wireless because it just makes sense.
Right.
TVs, 55-inch to 75-inch TV, is not one of those things. It's a terrible idea. It's just...
If you need to carry, like you said earlier, if you need to carry around your TV...
like, if you're so addicted to watching your TV, but specifically, like you're so addicted to entertainment, but you're also so, like, I guess, hung up on the concept of not being able to watch it on anything less than the biggest screen in your house, you have got other problems, man. Like,
or may I suggest a cell phone?
Well, that's the thing.
Right.
I don't think the problem is being able to watch it on some different device. It's having to pause it and switch to that device. I don't, these people, they don't want to stop watching things. They want to just, it's there, I'm watching it until it dies. Even then, you don't have to watch it till it dies because you can hot swap the batteries.
Right. This is a relationship with entertainment that I feel is fundamentally problematic.
Yeah.
I agree.
Especially since in this hypothetical scenario, you will be relying 100% of the time on the built-in TV speakers.
Oh,
yeah.
Yep.
Which is terrible.
Although, Caleb, because this is wireless, it might have Bluetooth capabilities of some sort. So just get some, Bluetooth speaker or earbuds and use those all the time. Then you're also not bugging other people. Win-win.
No, it's not going to be annoying to your roommates at all when you're walking through the kitchen with a 55-inch TV, just carrying it around everywhere you go. That's fine.
You can also take this on the subway.
No, you can't. It has to be, the box has to be plugged into a wall. The box that transmits everything to the screen, that has to be plugged in somewhere.
Well, okay, let me devil's advocate here. What if you can cast from your phone to this TV? So then everything's running off your phone and it's just, going toward there. It's just a 55-inch tablet at that point. Without a touchscreen, of course.
I felt pretty confident in saying that the 12-inch iPad was too big.
Hey,
I think 55.
Microsoft has proven that you need bigger tablets. They have a freaking table. Come on, man.
Yeah, but that was how many years ago?
Exactly. They proved it a long time ago. And now other companies are just catching up.
Sure.
Oh, dear.
We'll call it that. No problem. That's fine.
Oh, dear.
I mean, I don't agree with anything I'm saying. I'm just making the argument.
Yeah.
No, I agree you're making the argument. There's no doubt about that.
Anyways, let's move on
Yeah.
from wireless TVs to something else that you can stream wirelessly from, in case you, for some reason, are as obsessed with food as the people that buy this TV are as obsessed with, watching their shows constantly. So Samsung has an oven now that will let you watch your food as it is cooking from your phone. So this oven has a camera inside of it somewhere that lets you, it streams a video feed of your food while it's cooking to the Smart Things app. So you can keep an eye on your food from, next door, down the street.
I have a question.
Just
is it hard
standing
for you to
outside
just
the oven? I don't know.
Explain that without having a funny face. Is it hard for you to explain that?
It's even worse than that.
I just gave an argument for having a wireless television, Wes.
Okay.
Like
and you're
a good 10-minute argument for why that TV makes sense. And you think I can't talk about this with a straight face? Come on, man.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay,
no,
you got me there.
It's even worse than that, because Samsung made a point of pointing out that from the Smart Things app, you can then stream that video feed to Twitch.
Yes.
So if you're a Twitch streamer and you want to stream your pizza cooking, Samsung has the oven for you.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
This is that world now. We are heading there. I mean, have you seen some Twitch streamers? I got on the other day because I wanted to see a game.
That's true.
And someone had a dog cam, cat cam, a cam for themselves, and then like a hallway cam, like all in the, and I'm like, no, I want to see the video game.
It's, you know what? There are some streamers that I kind of understand having all the different camera feeds. Like, there's a guy that I know. It's the Dank Pods dude on YouTube. Like, listener, you've probably heard of him. He has a drum stream that he does.
Yes.
And his drum stream includes, like, obviously a camera feed of him playing the drums. But at least for those of us that are not drummers, Landen's, probably going to be a little incredulous about this next statement. Sometimes it's not that interesting to just watch people drum, There's a lot of repetitive motion there. It's not necessarily things changing very much. Yeah, he doesn't agree, but that's okay. So he has a bunch of...
Caleb is wrong. Caleb is wrong.
He has a bunch of other camera feeds that are showing stuff like his pet snake. And I think there's one that just shows random memes from his Discord chat or something like that. Anyways, he's got a bunch of other camera feeds to kind of be like, oh, okay, here's other things for you to look at while you're listening to the drum stream. Okay, I get that. But yeah, video game streamers, it's like, I'm sorry, we're here for the game. Most of the time, I don't even want to see your stupid face. Like, I don't need the webcam view on video game streams. Like, I'm okay with it, whatever. I've accepted that it's a thing. But definitely don't be showing me your food cooking as well. That's just ridiculous. It is worth noting the Samsung oven also features AI integration that will allow the camera to, like, figure out what it is that you just put into the oven and automatically cook it for you. Like it'll set the oven temperature and the cook time and all that stuff.
Although that is putting
I
a
wouldn't-
lot of faith into Bixby, and
Yeah.
But Bixby has the name of a butler. If there's any personal assistant I would trust to cook food, it's got to be Bixby, right?
that is fair. That is fair. Also, it can send you,
You got a
notifications if your food is about to get to overcook. If it's going to be getting burned shortly, it will send you notification. Hey, you might want to go take this out because it's not going to taste very good in about 10 minutes.
Yep.
So that's kind of fun.
Good stuff.
So that was the weird stuff from CES that I wanted to talk about. Caleb is going to have more down the road, but there's a few other things that are a little more, actually kind of cool and potentially something you might want to buy eventually when it comes out. The first thing is Hisense made a series of televisions that are using mini LEDs. And you're like, oh, that's not new. There's companies that do that already. Yes, you are right. They're expensive. The thing with these Hisense ones is you can get their U6 lineup of televisions starting at only $500 for a mini LED TV.
Yeah.
And that is fantastic. Now, the downside to this is it's not going to have quite, the refresh rate isn't going to be quite as high as some of their other ones. And it's not going to be quite as high of, it's not made, I don't even know if these are 4K or what they are, but they're not going to be quite as nice as their more expensive ones. But the fact that you can get a mini LED TV for $500 is fantastic.
Yes. And for context, listener, the reason that this matters is because this means that for $500 you can actually get a TV that is HDR, not just HDR compliant, which is what the vast majority of HDR TVs under $1,000 have been to this point. That means they can take in and process correctly an HDR signal, but they can't actually display it the way that it was intended to be displayed. HDR only works when you have the ability to shut off the light source in the TV. That's pretty much the only time it works. Or if you have a maximum brightness of literally the sun. those are kind of your two options. So
that's it.
It really wasn't a thing below $1,000 to have actual HDR on a TV, but with mini LED backlights, that means that they have programmable, dimmable zones in the backlight of the TV. They're not going to be as many of them as more expensive TVs. Like Landen said, it's not going to be quite as good a quality experience, but they'll actually be able to shut off the backlight on the black areas of the screen so that they're actually black instead of gray, which means that you're going to get a way better HDR experience out of it. So for $500, you can actually buy a TV that will display you an HDR image. That is a big deal.
Yeah. And the other nice thing about this is it's not running some crap LG or Samsung software in the background. This is Hisense.
Yeah.
It's using Google TV, which is actually really nice. So that's kind of cool. All right. The next thing is also something that goes along with if you're buying a new TV. Nanoleaf, the company that makes these little wall tiles you can buy that are lights that are programmable and whatnot, they came out with what they're calling 4D. And what it is it's a series of, you can use these light tiles or light strips that they have as well, put them behind your TV in whatever array that you want to do that, as a camera that looks at your television and syncs these tiles behind your TV to match whatever is on your TV color-wise. So
yeah,
it's real. I mean, there is already technology that does this. I can go on Amazon right now and find the same thing. I can get an LED light strip I can plug on or put to the back of my television and do the same thing for $50. But it's not going to be nearly as cool as what Nanoleaf has done here, because Nanoleaf has been doing this type of stuff for years. They are really good at it, and their light tiles are phenomenal and really cool, and I really like this feature. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. And the cool part of it is that Nanoleaf, they make it really easy to buy a whole bunch of their products and integrate them together.
Yeah.
So you can get a much, much bigger effect, and it'll all seamlessly pair together and just and immerse you even more, right? So Nanoleaf is basically selling you an ecosystem of programmable RGB stuff. that is super integrated and now is able to sync to basically the color temperature of whatever is happening on your TV. And
Yeah.
I've seen some demos of this stuff at work. I'm trying to remember what the movie was that I saw where there was a big moment, like an explosion or something like that. And basically, they went from like a dark blue scene to the entire back wall, just this giant orange fireball across the entire back wall. And I was
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Now there is some setup to this, whatever setup you put with the tiles behind your TV, the light tiles, you do have to program them and basically let your system know where these tiles are located, which was what you have to do anyways when you set up these tiles, because that's how you get them to show lights in a special order that you might want them to do anyways. So you're going to have to do that regardless, but to make it work with this especially, you're going to want to do that. And speaking of that ecosystem that Caleb was talking about, like I said, they do have the tiles that you could put pretty much anywhere right now, but they have attachments and stuff that you can get to put stuff on your ceiling, but it doesn't work great with what they have now. But they just announced the Nanoleaf skylights, which are tiles made specifically to go on your ceiling. So you get a bunch of wall tiles, put them behind your TV, get a bunch of skylight tiles and put them above you, and you have a really full-on immersive TV watching experience. Or you just have really good lights above you to, brighten the room a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially like the one scenario I saw someone point out that this would be extremely helpful is like in an entryway where the lighting is not necessarily great as it is, and you don't have a lot of wall space to put the tiles or something like that. So you buy these skylights, put them on your ceiling, and they're programmable. They're RGB. Like you can do whatever color. So you can have someone walk into a nice, red scene if you don't like this person. Oh, the devil is here. Let's turn the red lights on. Or, you can have it be something nice like white light or something like that. But I like that. I thought those were really cool. I've been a fan of Nanoleaf. I don't have any of their products, but I really like what they're doing with the space. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a good product.
All right. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is something I think Caleb would potentially be interested in. But this is going to be a while. Samsung Display, they came out with what they're calling the Flex Hybrid display. So this is a display that not only folds, but also rolls at the same time. So basically, it looked like what they were showing off in is kind of like a foldable product that didn't have an outside screen like their phones, but you open it up and it folds open, obviously, and then it also one side folds open, one side rolls out to expand this display from when it's collapsed, it's a 10-inch display, and then when you fully open it all the way, it's like it opens up like 2.5 inches more. So like obviously folded up, it's not 10 inches, because there's no display showing. It's just that's how much display would be showing if it were open. But it opens up and it folds open and rolls out on one side. It's really cool looking. And I think the technology there could produce some interesting things. Now, I think the biggest benefit here is going to be in this tablet market, where you can have a 12-inch tablet that folds down to something like a 7-inch tablet size that could potentially fit in your pocket. And that's kind of cool. But obviously this is CES. This is a concept thing. They're not selling this yet. They're just showing it off. But it is something that within a few years, they probably will have something on the market utilizing this technology. And if nothing else, it shows that they're working on rollable technology, which is really what Caleb wants. He wants a phone that can be the size of a thing of chapstick that he can put in his pocket.
Yep. That's the dream.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool. That's basically all of the stuff that, it's cool stuff. There is other things that I wanted to talk about that's not as cool, but they got announced at CES. The main one that I want to mention, though, is that MagSafe technology that Apple has had for a while is officially going to be coming to Android phones probably next year at the earliest, because the wireless consortium that has been around for a while, they now have a new Qi standard. They're calling it Qi 2 because Qi 1.7 or whatever isn't good enough anymore. They need it. They need a full number upgrade. They're pulling
this is
an
a
Apple.
significant update.
Yes, significant. And really, all that is different is Apple has basically let them use MagSafe technology, and it's going to be standard on this Qi 2. It's basically I think the way they're doing it is just the array of where the magnets can go is similar to what Apple is doing. So Apple's actually being friendly here and letting the wireless consortium use this, probably as a preventative thing, because eventually the EU would probably make them do it legally for some stupid reason. So Apple's just ahead of the game.
I think that it's probably more the fact that, like, they talked to the US Patent Office, and the Patent Office was, okay, Apple, you want to patent a circle.
Yeah.
That's your patent. And they're all like, yes, but specifically a circle that lets you mount things to other things. And they're like, I'm sorry, we already have literally millions of devices that do this on the dashboards of people's cars that existed before your MagSafe ridiculousness was even a twinkle in your eye.
Hey,
you can't patent it.
You got to hand it for Apple for trying, because they were able to patent the shape of a phone.
They sure were. And they did win a lawsuit off of that one against Samsung. For reasons that are still not entirely clear to me, let's be honest. The patent system in the United States is broken. But I'm willing to bet that this is the thing where, like, you know, Apple, there was an internal discussion. People at Apple probably were all like, let's patent this and control it. And other people are all like, there's no way Instant will be able to do that. There's already knockoff products that are completely legal and we can't do anything about them. If they want to initialize a standard that is basically just MagSafe, the only thing that they wouldn't be able to do is have the little line that helps you align phones and stuff, like the extra magnet. They would have to put that in a different place to avoid trampling on our patent. And if they do that, then what we're going to end up with is a whole bunch of dash mounts in cars for phones that are compatible with iPhones, but if you put them on there, it's going to line up upside down or something like that with the extra magnet around the edge or something. Guaranteed some kind of a discussion like that happened internal to Apple, and afterwards they were all like, yeah, you guys can totally use MagSafe. Like, we're being so generous.
Yeah. Now, it's funny because I've heard some talk about this from Android covering news places and whatnot. And they're like, why is this such a big deal? It's like, we don't, but some of them are actually like, no, this actually makes a lot of sense. And the biggest benefit here is if you have a wireless charger that uses MagSafe, which I have the Apple one, so it's already just circular and it makes sense. But if you have one that's not circular, I mean, you may have had this problem, listener, if you use a Qi charger that doesn't have MagSafe on it at all, you have to put your phone down in a very specific spot. And if you bump it ever so slightly, depending on your charger, then your phone has been sitting there all night not charging, or all day, or wherever, you know, whatever. It's been sitting there for however long, not actually charging. And the benefit to the MagSafe stuff is it will snap your phone into place and it will charge. And it's extremely beneficial. And also, I mean, Caleb, I don't think you've really gotten into the whole MagSafe stuff, have you?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. So I have. So like I said, I've got the Apple charger that is really nice. I've also got the car mount in my truck that I can just stick my phone onto, and it's just a circle, so it doesn't have that little line on the bottom to orient it, which I actually prefer, because if there's times when I'm not driving, I can use this car mount, put my phone horizontally, and then watch a show or something, and I have to hold my phone while I'm doing that, and that's kind of nice. Or if I'm using maps or something like that, I can turn it landscape mode as well and have just a little easier viewing experience when it comes to that. So that's kind of nice. But I really like the MagSafe stuff because it's sticks to your phone. It's strong magnets. I haven't had anything that's weak onto this thing. And some people argue it's like, well, we already have case manufacturers that are putting MagSafe into their cases for Android stuff. I'm like, yes, I get that. But if you are someone that doesn't use a case, then you don't benefit from that. So having this as the Qi 2 standard, now it will be inside your phone. And if you don't have a case, you can still use MagSafe stuff. So
yeah.
I think it's really nice.
If you have a thin or a very low profile case or a clear case or something like that, you don't want to see a ring of magnets on the back of your phone every time you look at it. Like, there's a number of different reasons why, yeah, the case it's a good stopgap, but it's not really a solution. And yeah, I think that making this a part of the Qi standard just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I'm glad Apple's not trying to fight it, because I think they would lose that fight, but it is a little different of them to not try and fight stuff like this.
Yeah.
I think it's entirely possible that they have not been making nearly as much money off of the MagSafe licensing as they thought they would, because it's just a really easy thing to steal.
Yeah.
You know, it's a circle of magnets. You can measure it like on the back of your phone using the little magnet film stuff. You just put it on there. It's like, oh, that's exactly how big the circle is and exactly the orientation and number of the magnets. Turns out that's not hard to rip off. And so it's entirely possible that they just haven't been making very much money off of it. They're like, whatever. Let's have everyone use it then.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. But that's pretty much all of my CES stuff for what I wanted to talk about, really, that I think is cool. All the weird stuff, obviously. Caleb's going to have even more weird stuff because he digs deep to find the really weird stuff that's not getting talked about much.
Look, all the weird stuff kind of bubbled up to the surface this year.
Yeah.
This is not it, because, I mean, here's the thing. I love the weird stuff at CES. I'm not the only person, listener. Like, the vast majority of journalists that are at CES are there for one of two reasons. They're there because it's the first time they've ever been there, and they just want to, oh, it's CES, it's like Mecca for tech nerds or whatever. And then there's the people that have been there over and over and over again. They're sick and tired of seeing the same booths that have the same laptops and the same TVs as every year. They hunt for the strange things.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Yeah, and we get quite a lot of that stuff. It tends to bubble quite nicely to the surface of CES coverage, which is lovely.
Yes. So, but that's all the stuff I wanted to talk about for this week.
Nice. Well, I mean, let's have Caleb continue on with this discussion.
All right. Well, listener, I'm actually going to start with the boring, high-profile crap first. So, NVIDIA, Intel, and AMD all had like keynote events, not at CES, but like in the days leading up to CES, so kind of like the CES pre-show. So first of all, NVIDIA had an event specifically, well, they talked about some of their data center AI technologies and products, and they talked a little bit about like DLSS and some of the things they're doing along those lines. But the headlining feature was that they relaunched the unlaunched RTX 4080 12 gig version, which is now called the RTX 4070 Ti, which, if you recall, when they announced the 4080 12 gig, I was whining a whole lot about how that was not a 4080 and how that was like the most scummy thing on the planet for them to call it a 4080, that it was actually a 4070. And look, I was right. Not just me, basically everybody else in the tech world. But yeah, you know, here it is, 4070 Ti. NVIDIA announced this just after a report from, I honestly can't remember who generated this report, determined that GPU demand had hit a 20-year low as of the very end of 2022. And that in response to this, NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel, because they make dedicated GPUs now, all responded by cutting chip orders from their suppliers like TSMC, because making fewer GPUs and causing another spike in prices due to supply chain shortages of GPUs is definitely going to make people buy more GPUs. good job. Way to go. Look, let's be honest. The reason that they hit a 20-year low is because we've had all these supply chain issues over the past couple of years. GPU prices went extremely high. And despite the fact that the supply chain issues dried up not that long ago, prices never actually came back down. That's why nobody's buying GPUs, you idiots. You don't cut supply, cut the cost. Just accept the fact that, yes, we had massive record-breaking profits over the past 3 years. Cool. Good for us. We're going to bring that down a little bit now so that we can actually move inventory. But no, that's not what they did. Because, of course, that's not what they did. Freaking. Anyways, NVIDIA also, just after this, announced the 4070 Ti. They have given it to, in fact, they talked about it in detail. And it has been a lot of coverage from various tech sources. It was pretty much universally eviscerated by the tech press for a number of different things. The first of all is the new cut price, starting price of the 4070 Ti is now $800 versus $900, which is what it was when it was still the 4080 12 gig. That is misleading. There is no Founders Edition of this card, which means there will not be any $800 4070 Ti's. In fact, the cheapest one that has been announced, like the price you can actually look at so far, was, I think, $1,100. Which is quite a bit more than $800. I don't know if anybody else noticed. That's just a lot.
A wee bit.
So these partner cards cost more than $800. That price point is just a lie. There's been quite a lot of misleading claims about the 4070 Ti from NVIDIA. And overall, like, the performance doesn't look like it's going to do anything to justify the price point or where it sits. And like a lot of the performance claims that NVIDIA is making are based on the idea that DLSS is where the performance is coming from. And so of course it's going to be way better because DLSS is tuned for it and isn't the newest version of DLSS, which is like super awesome and fancy and whatnot, isn't available on anything but the 40 series cards. So like, I don't know. There's just a lot of scummy stuff that NVIDIA is doing with this 4070 Ti launch and announcement and everything, and nobody likes it. Everybody is upset. So honestly, listener, just don't buy NVIDIA's 40 series cards, please.
Wasn't there a good one though? Like, there was one
look,
that we talked about.
If you are the kind of person for whom money is no object, the best graphics card that money can buy right now is the RTX 4090. You can afford the 1200 watt power supply that will require to have one of those things. You can afford a giant case with ridiculous amounts of airflow to put the thing in because that's what it requires. And you can afford to pay $1,600 for a graphics card that is simply the most powerful graphics card you can get your hands on. So like, yes, those people have always existed. They're the folks that spent absurd amounts of money on the Titan cards before, the 3090 and 4090 were a thing. So like, yeah, if you're the Halo graphics card buyer, then sure, the 4090 is there for you. It's always like you were always just going to buy the most powerful thing that NVIDIA was selling, and okay, whatever. But the 80 series, the 4080, and especially the 4070, these are supposed to be more mass market, attainable graphics cards for people who don't want to buy the Halo product. They're not in that tax bracket. They don't care. But now they're priced like Halo products. It's a 4070, guys. Like, it's a 70 series card. Like, for context, the 1070, which is a great graphics card when it came out, fantastic mid-range graphics card for pretty much any gamer, right? The 1070 retailed for, I think, $350 originally, or was it $400? Like, about 50% as much money as the 4070 Ti. It's like, what? So, anyways, nobody's happy with NVIDIA. there you go. That's the takeaway from that.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I got
Intel. I'm going to move to Intel. They also had an event. They announced 16 additional SKUs for their 13th generation processor family, which is all of the KFs and the F series and the U series and the whatnot. They basically just filled out the product stack. We've mostly, to this point, they've just announced the K SKUs. And so now it's everything else, like they've filled in the lineup. Everything is there. They also announced their 13th generation mobile processors, including the 13890 HKF.
Oh,
yeah. I think that was all the right numbers and letters in the right order. I'm pretty sure. Which they are claiming is the most powerful mobile processor on the market, which, I mean, maybe they're right, but we'll talk about NVIDIA or talk about AMD here in a minute. So, they have all, and they also announced like everything from that's the high end, obviously, down to like their lower end stuff for ultrabooks and more energy efficient stuff and that kind of thing. So yeah, it was just kind of Intel showing up and going, hey, here's the rest of our 13th generation processors that we haven't talked about to this point. Fair enough. What happened immediately after their event is that some people went on to Intel Arc, not to be like the online database of processors, not to be confused with Intel's GPUs. One of them is spelled ARK, one of them is spelled ARC, and as per usual, listener, I will not be telling you which one is spelled which way, so good luck with that. Some people noticed on Intel Arc database that the prices of the 12th generation chips from Intel have gone up as listed, which is weird, because that's not what they were selling for before. But apparently they're just doing that to make the 13th generation chips look good by comparison. I guess not realizing that people in this community are extremely obsessive and would notice that the prices have changed. So cool, Intel. Why? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fun. But, a bunch of new processors, most of which look pretty good. And honestly, the 13th generation processors from Intel have been pretty darn good up to this point. So definitely something to keep an eye on with that high-end 13890 HKF. Or is it 980 HKF? I'm not sure. I genuinely can't remember.
It's actually pronounced confusing AF.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
you heard it here. That one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Good point. So yeah, AMD then followed that up with another keynote of their own, in which they talked about, let's just be honest, the headline feature is the introduction of new X3D processors, right? So X3D is the thing where AMD takes cache on the processor and stacks it on top of the processor die, so that they can put ridiculous amounts of L3 in particular cache onto these chips, which cache is basically the same thing as memory. It's just way faster than RAM. And so basically being able to rely on large amounts of cache just speeds things up for the CPU, generally speaking, and especially in gaming workloads. It helps a ton. So they announced a successor to the 5800X3D, which came onto the scene and was actually kind of hilarious for not being the highest core count or technically most powerful CPU in AMD's lineup. The 5800X3D stole the Gaming King crown back from Intel's 12900K. So that's that was a cool thing that happened. They've announced the 7800X3D, which is a direct successor to that. It's an 8-core, 16-thread processor that uses X3D stacked V-cache stuff. They also announced the 7900X3D, which is a 12-core, 24-thread that uses the same technology, and the 7950X3D, which is their flagship 16-core, 32-thread processor with Vcache on it. So, these have the potential to absolutely destroy the 13th generation Intel chips, particularly in gaming workloads, if the 5800X3D's numbers are any indication to go off of based on how it happened in the last generation. So Intel did not sit on top of the gaming throne for very long, but as I've said before, this is what competition looks like, and it's great that both of these companies are at the top of their game enough to where they just keep batting back and forth on this with each other. I love it. I'm all here for it. It's excellent. So that was the big news out of AMD as well. They also talked about FSR updates and some changes to that, and some driver stuff with their GPUs, and so on and so forth. But big news, new X3D processors. So that's all kind of the mainstream nonsense from NVIDIA, Intel, and AMD. This is not the kind of thing that I'm at CES, or that I pay attention to CES for, but I figure, due diligence and journalistic integrity and crap like that, we better talk about it or whatever.
Yeah.
So let's get into the good stuff, listener. Alienware. They're owned by Dell. I don't know if that's important to know in this case.
Actually, I didn't know that.
Oh, really? Oh,
You didn't know that?
oh man. Yeah, no, Dell
some
bought
reason,
Alienware.
Oh, wow. I didn't. Sorry.
When was that? Like back in 2015 or something like that?
What?
It's
I
been
thought
a
it's
little
been longer
while.
than that.
I can't remember exactly when
Maybe
they bought them.
I don't know. Maybe they bought it. Maybe I did know and I didn't really. Anyway, this doesn't pertain.
Yeah.
Sorry.
2000.
Well, there you go.
2006.
It was 2006, really?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Wow.
it's been a long time.
Okay, so what you're telling me then is actually the Alienware laptop that I have in a drawer right here was probably one of the last actual Alienware laptops ever made before Dell bought them, and they just turned into Dell laptops with funky designs. So
Basically.
that's interesting news to me. It's a piece of crap laptop, to be absolutely clear, listener. Like, absolutely bonkers powerful GPU in this thing. It's an old, oh gosh, okay, so it would have been a 7950 GTX, I think. No, GTX X2 or X2 7950. Anyways, it's the one. It's like it took NVIDIA's most powerful GPU, and they sandwiched two of them together, and that was like, it was an official NVIDIA product way back in the day, like 2005 ish. And I happen to have a laptop that has the mobile version of that in it, and it turns out driver support for that thing is really terrible. Also, those GPUs tended to run extremely hot and had lots of problems with like desoldering issues and stuff like that on the actual die. This laptop has problems. Anyways, this is all completely beside the point. I'm not even talking about an Alienware laptop. Okay. A couple of months back, Asus announced a monitor that had a 540 hertz refresh rate. They obviously did not release the thing at the time. They just said, we're making this monitor. It's going to be awesome. 540 hertz. That's insane, right? Like, that is so many frames per second that like most GPUs actually can't output that, Yeah. Like if you're running a 4090 and you're playing like, I don't know, Rise of the Tomb Raider, it's a couple of years old kind of thing, and you don't have ray tracing turned on, then yeah, you could probably do 500 FPS, but it's not that common. Esport peoples would be the only people that would actually use this, Yeah. So kind of a weird product to announce, but whatever. Alienware is punching back at CES by announcing a 500 hertz gaming monitor of their own, which is cool. But what's especially cool, and this is the weird part, is that Asus is punching back at Alienware by announcing that their 540 hertz monitor is going to come with adjustable feet. Now, that sounds not as weird as it actually is, listener, because you really need to go look up a video of this thing. They're motorized. It's like a stand that has little V-shaped feet that like slide back and forth to, I'm not sure why. I don't know what the point is of this thing, but it's the weirdest looking monitor stand I have seen in a very long time. So, competition, I guess. I don't know. It's weird.
Oh.
Okay, let's talk about Acer. They're a fun company. They announced the Halo Swing, is what it's called, is a portable Google Home speaker type thing with a little ring of LEDs around the bottom of it and a handle so that you can carry it around like a little lunchbox or a lantern or something like that. It's the weirdest use case for a smart speaker I think I have ever seen, or rather, I suppose the weirdest smart speaker without a defined use case that I have ever seen. I don't know what the function of this thing is supposed to be. Why do you want to carry your Google Home around with you?
Same reason you want to carry your TV around.
TV. See, and that's the problem right there. Anyways, so yeah, that's fun. Acer also announced, which is even better, the eConnect. Okay, so you want to be able to carry your Google Home around with you, but riding a bike and going places, totally overrated. So the eConnect is a desk with a stationary bike attached to the bottom of it that you just sit there and pedal on while you're doing work on the desktop. And it will recharge your devices while you do it.
Nice.
Now, granted, it will recharge your devices very slowly because as it happens, you don't actually output that much power when you're riding a bike. Like, converting that into electricity, like, yes, you could charge, like, if you were to sit down at that thing at the start of a workday and plug your phone in and just pedal, you could charge your phone up over an 8-hour workday. You would have to ride a bike for 8 hours to do it. So that seems kind of dumb, but it's not going to make an appreciable difference to like your laptop battery or anything like that. You know, like you could, I suppose, maybe keep your laptop from draining quite so quickly. That's what you would accomplish with this thing.
I don't know about this. I mean, when I get on a bike and I go for a ride, I'm pretty dead after about 5 minutes. I'm outputting a lot of power right there.
Landen, I hate to break it to you, but you're outputting way less than you think you are.
Yeah, fine.
Just killing its self-esteem here.
To be absolutely clear, the struggle here is that it's more difficult to turn the energy you are putting out with your legs into electricity than people want to give it credit for. Like, yes, you are basically, you're spinning a turbine, right? You pedal the thing, you spin a turbine, it generates power. That's the same way that hydroelectric dams work. That's the same way that windmills work. It's the same way that, flipping nuclear power is generated that way. That's how coal plants generate power. They all just are boiling water, generating steam, or using water that's flowing, or using wind blowing through the air to spin turbines. That's what it is. The thing is, it's just a lot of that energy that you're burning, it just gets converted directly into heat in a bike. So yes, you could charge a device like a phone or an iPad or something like that. Yeah. You could keep your laptop from draining as fast as it normally would. Yeah. But do you really want to be that sweaty while you're at work, I guess is my question. I don't know. I guess more people are working from home now, so maybe it makes more sense in the post-pandemic world.
I look at this, I think the charging functionality is stupid. Let's just get that out there. That's dumb. But I look at this along the same lines of a walking, like a treadmill, a desk treadmill. You know, it's the exact same thing. You want to get a little bit of exercise in while you're standing at your desk. Hop on a little stationary bike and do, I actually think it's a great idea for some people. It depends on what your job is, obviously. And if you can, if you're at your desk and you don't have, you're okay if you're moving a little bit. But that's how I would look at this, as more of an exercise type thing rather than charging your phone, because that's stupid. But it's CES. You got to have that functionality to be in CES.
Exactly. That's important. Okay, so follow on to that. Like, let's just go into one of the most CES products of CES. LG Mood Up. Okay, that's the name of the product. Now, listener, I would like you to try and guess. Just, get onto Twitter and tweet at us right now or something like that, what you think the LG Mood Up is based off of that name. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I haven't read your tweet. I want to see it. Please tweet. But you're wrong. It's a refrigerator.
Yeah.
It is a refrigerator with color changing panels on the front that you can control with an app that will do stuff like sync to your music to help you throw raves and stuff like that. I don't know who this is for. I guess maybe this is for people that have like a self-serve refrigerator with drinks in it in a club or something. Like, I don't get it. But like all the promotional videos of this thing make it look like the entire use case of it is that you're supposed to put it next to like one of those light up dance floors that they were really popular in clubs back in like the 2000s kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I just I don't know what this thing is, but it's,
I mean, it is kind of cool. It's
yeah.
very niche. It's
You know what's
it's,
really bad?
it's
The one thing I
super
thought was
niche.
cool is the see-through window. When it can do the see-through and I can see stuff in the fridge without opening the fridge.
okay.
That's
LG
true.
makes a fridge with a
I
freaking
was
window.
gonna say,
You don't need a
there
screen
are a
to do
lot
that.
of fridges that do
but
that
that's what I'm
already.
saying. That's the only thing that I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, that's it.
We know Wes
Ugh.
isn't the party one here now. That's
It is kind of cool. I'm never gonna buy one. There's no decent use case for this, but the name is the worst thing ever.
Okay, I
So-
would say
yeah.
I would take this and I would change it. If I was able to somehow change it into, say, my own gaming type thing. So, for example, I play Fallout. I would put Nuka-Cola stuff all over it or something, kind of a cool thing. But you can't. It's all
Nope.
just lights.
They're not like displays. They're more
Yeah, I
like
know.
the color changing panels on the BMW.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's kind of more what they are.
I will
that's
say,
why I was
Yeah,
like,
it's
I
would
will
do
say, my kids would absolutely love this
yeah, it's like
because my kids like to throw rave parties in our living room all the time. I mean,
Yeah,
one
but
of the
it-
things they
but
got
the
for
fridge is in the
Christmas.
kitchen.
Though that's the thing. Like, one of the things my kids got for Christmas is one of those little small disco ball things that puts
Mm.
lights all over the room.
Yeah.
You combine that with this, you've got multi-room rave right there,
There,
and that's kind of cool. So, I mean,
keep
if
dancing
you
while
are
you
the
get your
parent,
drinks.
if you are the parent that just buys everything for your child and has all the money to do so, this is the fridge for you because it also benefits because it's a bonus as a fridge. You know. There you
Yeah, there you go. It's a rave accessory that doubles as a fridge. There you go. Okay. So yeah, that's one of the most CES products from this CES.
Amazing.
I think that thing's outstanding. Next, Sony's Project Leonardo, which is not actually an especially strange thing, this particular thing. I'm mostly just bringing it up because of how absurdly late to the game they are with this. So Project Leonardo is an accessibility-focused controller for the PlayStation, which is great.
Yeah.
To be clear, this sort of thing should have existed a long time ago. Say about 5 years ago, when Xbox introduced theirs.
Yeah.
So, Sony, why'd that take so long?
And the fact
Oh,
that
wait.
it's called Project something means it's not really for sale yet
Right.
either. It's
It's
they're
not
working on it.
finished. They're still working on it. And you know why it took so long? It took so long because they were working on the name for their electric car that they're developing in conjunction with, I believe it was Kia or Hyundai. I mean, they're owned by the same company.
Right.
They have announced the name for this car. They have teased this car at previous CESs. It's going to be like, self-driving car of the future, kind of like the BMW, honestly, that they were talking about earlier. But it has a name now. It's called Afeela. Afeela, right? And that's because the way you feel is central to the car driving experience. So they put the word feel in the center of the name.
They should have just called it I Feel Ya.
I feel that's a bad name, but
Yes, it's great. That one, I think that one honestly wins the worst name of CES right there. As bad as the Mood Up is, I think that the Afeela is worse.
Well, Mood Up is bad just because of it doesn't make any sense in that aspect of what it actually the product is. This one's just bad because it's just bad.
It's just a terrible name. It's just a terrible name. So yeah, that's great. Obviously the car is not for sale or anything like that. They're just like, yeah, we're still working on this thing that we keep showing off at every CES forever and ever, and we're never actually going to make a product. Thanks, Sony. Lenovo. They announced a bunch of stuff, actually, like a whole bunch of new tablets and laptops. They actually have a laptop that, so like last year, Lenovo showed off and then actually sold, to their credit, one of those folding screen laptops, right? That has like the detachable keyboard and all that stuff. This year, they're showing off something that is basically that, except it's the Microsoft Duo version of the folding phone as a laptop. So it's got 2 OLED screens on a device that folds in half. Oh, okay. It's kind of weird and strange looking. It has like an origami style, like keyboard clamshell case thing for it that helps hold it up, and you can actually put the monitors in like a stacked orientation and do stuff like that with them. It's weird. But the thing that caught my attention was their OLED displayed laptop that has an e-ink screen on the back of the OLED screen. So you've got your laptop, and then you can flip the screen around, and now it's an e-ink display. So you can use it actually as an e-ink tablet reader device with that on one side. So yeah, that's, I don't know why. I guess I do know why. I do know why. It's for people that really want to be able to watch movies or something like on a good screen. But when they're typing Word documents, they want their screen that they're looking at to use virtually no battery or something. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm coming at this from the perspective as the only reason I use e-ink displays is to read books, like
I think that's the main reason most people use e-ink displays.
Right? And so putting it on a laptop, I feel like that is a massive amount of processing overkill for an e-reader,
Yeah, I mean, the only other place that I've seen an e-ink display, okay, 2 other places I've seen an e-ink display make sense is on the Yoda phone.
Yeah, the Yoda phone.
I loved that. And then
I do miss that idea.
More recently, on a lot of smartwatches that are those hybrid smartwatches where they actually have hands on them, but they also have an e-ink display so you can get, a month's worth of battery out of the thing and still have some smart features to it.
Exactly.
But those are the other 2 places I've seen e-ink displays actually make sense. Not on the back of a laptop.
It's I don't know exactly. If I had this laptop, I would just use the normal display for 99% of all of my use cases. And then occasionally I'd be like, you know what? I want to read a book. And I'd use the e-ink display for that. And so feels like a bit of overkill when I could just buy a Kindle to go along with it. They still sell like a base model Kindle with an e-ink display, don't they?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I still have my old Nook. I could just use that. I don't know. It's weird. Thanks, Lenovo. Thanks for the weird. MSI. They make motherboards. They make graphics cards. MSI kind of dabbles in a lot of computer components. They're now making routers. I guess they've actually made routers for a couple of years, but they're trying to push their router business quite a bit. And they announced a new router that is it's still in development. It's a Wi-Fi 7 router, which Wi-Fi 7 devices do not exist yet. They have not actually shipped. The standard just barely got released just 3 or 4 months ago or something like that. So all the Wi-Fi 7 products still very much in development. But they're at CES showing off their Wi-Fi 7 router with moving antennas. So very much like the moving feet on that Asus monitor. The antennas just kind of shift around and reposition themselves based on the Wi-Fi environment that they're detecting in the space and the devices that are connected to it, so that the devices are going to get as much as possible the most optimal antenna configuration for whatever it is they're doing. They're saying that with this, you should be able to get a theoretical maximum of 22,000 megabits per second.
Wow.
So I'm not exactly sure on the on the math, but I believe that puts it somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 or 10 gigabytes per second, which is, to be absolutely clear, faster than Ethernet by a ridiculous amount. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I might be, no, yeah. I really think that puts it, okay, so hold on. 22,000 megabits per second converts to gigabits per second at some, by like 1,024 divided. So you basically convert that into 20 gigabit per second. And then that in gigabytes per second is divided by 8, I think. Anyways, point is 20 gigabit per second is faster than Ethernet. Like the fastest Ethernet devices transfer at 10 gigabit per second, which is significantly faster than what, listener, your computer probably does, which is most likely 1 gigabit per second, So like, it's just, okay, cool. Thanks MSI for the most like Transformers-esque looking router I've ever seen that is like incomprehensibly fast. Cool.
All right. So keeping on with, I'm staying on brand here. So the reason you buy this router, and you also have to pair it with that monitor with the adjustable feet, right? So you get this monitor, you set up the router just behind it, but where you can still see the arms coming up out of it. And then you have a wallpaper on this monitor that is bug eyes. And then when those antenna are moving around and the feet are going, you have a bug.
Yep.
And then it's just entertainment at that point. You just look at it.
It's all an ecosystem.
It's an art project is what it is. You've heard of modern art. This is technological art is what you
there
can
you
call
go.
it. I don't know.
Is this like technology's way of like somewhat bringing Pokemon over? Like you got to collect them all, put them together.
This one does not transform into something better, though.
I was going to say it's actually kind of more like Metabots. Come to think
of
it. Oh man!
I'm just trying to find the right place for every product at CES. I'm just helping these. I'm helping these. They need to hire me for marketing. This is what needs to happen.
Yeah, there you go. In fact, actually, you know who does need to hire you for marketing, because I'm pretty sure you could do a better job than whoever staged the videos that you were showing off. SkyTed. I don't know where that name came from. I feel like that's a name that exists because all of the good tech company names have already been taken. Like, they're all gone, and so we end up with SkyTed instead. So, company named SkyTed has unveiled a mask that silences your voice when you talk on confidential calls or while gaming in public or something like that. It's basically just a big old box you put over your mouth and chin that has a microphone in it so that whoever you want to talk to can still hear you, but everybody outside is not going to be able to hear you because you're basically talking into a big old chunk of foam and noise canceling speakers that are supposed to be generating like an anti-wave to your actual voice in order to help cancel it, in addition to a bunch of sound dampening foam and stuff like that. So it looks
ridiculous.
It looks like a feed bag is what it looks like.
It does. That's what it was. I couldn't
like you're strapping a feed bag to your face. It is.
I'm looking at
hilarious.
This and you're kind of right. So the problem, they wouldn't want to hire me to market this thing, and I'll tell you why. Because the thing I want to use this for is not to keep people from hearing me. I want this to keep from hearing other people. So I would carry this around. If I want someone to shut up, it's going on their face. And I mean, although they wouldn't want me to market it that way, but that's how they're going to sell this product, is if you market it that way, people will buy these by the dozens,
Oh, man. Yep. There you go. There you have it. SkyTed, call us.
Yeah.
Man.
When I was watching that, and I was just like, it's so interesting. Like, I feel like if it had just a little bit more time, because it's a great idea, but just something with that box. I don't know.
I don't know. Look, all I can picture is the Get Smart, right? That was the spy movie.
Oh yeah.
The Get Smart remake with what's his face
Carell
from The Office in it. And
Steve Carell.
Yeah, Steve Carell. That there's a bit early on in that when he goes into the cone of silence or whatever and just like the cone fails and he just screams the innermost desires of his heart out for everybody to hear. All I can picture is that somebody for a confidential phone call in an airport or something, putting on their noise canceling headphones so they can't hear jack diddly, and then putting this thing over their mouth and having their confidential phone call, thinking to themselves that the only reason why they can hear what they're saying is because their voice is inside of their own head. Obviously, you can't block out those vibrations. Whereas everyone outside is just like, I can hear that. Like, that's what I'm imagining happening with this thing as soon as it hits the public. So, I don't know. Maybe just don't have confidential phone calls in crowded rooms. I feel like that's maybe the better solution here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I do want one, but I want one for the reasons why
right.
I would market it.
Exactly.
I want other people to shut up.
Oh, dear. All right. A Canadian startup that I did not catch the name for also unveiled a $333,000 stroller that is self-driving. It's like the luggage from a couple of years ago at CES that would follow you around the airport like a lost puppy dog, which that crap was basically just an encounter with the TSA waiting to happen. Like, I'm sorry, it's going to like get off of you and start following the wrong person, and then they're going to be like, oh my gosh, why is this bag following me around the airport? And like freaking a whole incident happens. This is basically that, but a stroller instead. And so pretty much what's going to happen is you're going to end up accidentally sending your kid to Hogwarts because it's going to follow the wrong person across a train station. And anyways, yeah. So it seems like a terrible idea, but somebody's still trying to make a product out of it.
I mean, there's not much more to say. That's what it is.
There really isn't. It's kind of ridiculous. And then I'm going to finish with this one because you always have to at CES talk about some tech product that was brought to light by a company that you would not traditionally associate with technology. L'Oreal at CES announced a printer for applying brow makeup.
I did see that.
You basically use an app to design your eyebrows. Then you stick this thing over your forehead, and it prints your eyebrow on how you designed it.
Wow.
And there you go.
Goodness.
That was CES. Good times.
That was amazing. That one I didn't know. I didn't see that one. L'Oreal printer. Yep, that seems wrong to say.
It's a makeup printer, Wes.
Makeup printer. My bad. You know, that's... I didn't go as deep, Caleb, so I don't have anything more to add to that than just CES. I mean, this is what it is. Yep, every year. Oh, man. Crazy. Well, my goodness. I'm still blown away by that L'Oreal printer. Well, I think that's going to be the end of the episode, unless someone's got one more thing. Oh.
Nope.
Well, listener, we appreciate you listening this far. I know that it was a lot of just random on that one, but it's really
that's
fun.
what CES is. It's just a lot of random.
That's what it is. But if you want to get a hold of us, you can on our social media platforms. You can also check out our YouTube channel, which recently had an upload to it.
Yeah, I did finally finish the video.
I even watched it. I was like, nice. Good job. So proud of you. Start off the new year right. See?
Yeah.
Maybe you can commit to more videos or something. I don't know.
I'm going to be honest. I started working on that video in like September. So.
But you did it.
Uh-huh.
We also have a Patreon listener. If you want to go ahead and give any kind of support, let's be real. The support's going to go to Landen because he's got to deal with us yuckleheads.
Yes, to be absolutely clear, the Patreon does not support me and my utter inability to finish YouTube videos in any kind of timely fashion.
Nope.
It goes to Landen and the podcast, which you will notice is much more consistent.
Much, much more. So if you want to do that, you can hop on Patreon, donate, give us what you feel on there. All right, dear listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.